Well, never mind all that stuff, because COVID also taught Sunny Hostin how to get her groceries delivered. Yeah, I know, amazing. But that means it's time for...
Living your life and you're feeling low. You don't know what is true, you don't know what's true. So you quick flip through the channels to watch Sunny on The View. Oh my God, the stuff she says is dumb. Where the hell they get this woman from? She's a host who's always crass and lame, with lots of nonsense to proclaim.
Sunny Hostin just totally lost it on live television. And no, it's not due to a full moon. Greg Gutfeld bludgeoned her with such a harsh truth check, even her cue cards appeared bewildered. The hypocrisy was stripped away layer by layer, as if an onion had an attitude problem. And yes, the melodrama? Chef's kiss. If you've ever seen a person emotionally combust quicker than a dollar store wig in a hurricane, you're in for a treat. This collision wasn't only hot, it was volcanic. And what she muttered after the camera stopped? Let's just say, nobody was prepared.
You a lot, but that's only because they keep talking. Those hens are always clucking. They get to say stupid stuff for an hour every day, and then I get to say stupid stuff for an hour every day, except on purpose. But every now and then, one of those dingbats inadvertently says something that reveals modern liberal thought so perfectly it deserves further study. You know, like a weird serpent that washed up on the beach and you want to poke it with a stick.
It finally happened. Sunny Hostin didn't just snap, she shattered. And we're not talking about the usual eye rolls and snark that pass for debate on The View. This was a full-on, widescreen, Dolby surround, public implosion, delivered to your living room courtesy of Greg Gutfeld, who packed more hard truths into 2 minutes than that show's managed to confront in 20 years. It wasn't a debate. It was a demolition.
So, Sunny, I bet you haven't been in a supermarket since COVID for about 3 years.
I haven't been in a supermarket since like COVID. For about 3 years. That's when I discovered Instacart, and I give them a big tip because they don't always pay their people well, and it's so that's been an issue I think for the company. But man, you can get toiletries, you can get fire logs. You know those big Bounty towels you don't want to carry. Those from Costco. Somebody else those.
Fire logs? She had to tell the audience that she tips big because even she knows she sounds insufferable. Hey, I'm but at least I tip.
It all began like any ordinary day at The View, in that it was like a mad brunch. Everybody was overdosing on self-righteousness. Introduce the typical group hug sentiment, patting on the back for mediocrity, loud reassurances that screaming louder makes them better people. Sunny Hostin, who approaches legal analysis the way some person might approach karaoke night, loudly, forcefully, and usually off-tune, was front and center, dispensing with deep insights such as bad things are always somebody else's fault and passion trumps facts if you yell them.
His obsession with race gets thrown back in her face. Today's video comes to us from Sunny Hostin. Sounds like a town. We're in Sunny Hostin. She was on PBS's Finding Your Roots, a show dedicated to researching celebrity ancestry. For context, Sunny is a staunch supporter of reparations and has made a fortune spewing nonsense about white privilege and racial justice. Well, turns out she's not as oppressed as she claims she is. She's actually the descendant of slave owners from Europe. Here's how she took it.
If you've never tuned into The View, picture the comments section of a politically charged Reddit thread, except it's hosted by folks who skimmed one political article and now believe they should be on the Supreme Court. Sunny Hostin fits in perfectly. She's their so-called legal mind, as long as your idea of legal insight includes calling everything she dislikes dangerous to democracy and melting down whenever someone challenges her caffeine-fueled convictions.
Ow. I'm a little bit in shock. I just always thought of myself as Puerto Rican, you know, half Puerto Rican. I didn't think I was, my family was originally from Spain and slaveholders.
Yeah. So how are you feeling, my friend?
I think it's actually pretty interesting that my husband and I have shared roots.
Yeah.
So I do appreciate that. And I think it's great for our children to know this information. I guess it's a fact of life that this is how some people made their living, on the backs of others.
life. Interesting change of tune. For more, we go to our chief Sunny Hostin correspondent for a reaction.
And then, oh, sweet poetic justice, along came Greg Gutfeld. That was when things got really out of control. Greg is not so much polished like a news anchor or an average cable host. He is the tough, no-nonsense type of guy at the barbecue who says what everyone else is thinking but silently afraid to voice out loud. Sunny clearly missed the memo that sarcasm hasn't been outlawed, because the second Gutfeld started highlighting her greatest hits of double standards, she folded faster than a lawn chair in a thunderstorm. First up, Sunny's talent for preaching about civil discourse, while just weeks earlier, labeling millions of Americans as democracy-hating goblins. According to her logic, it's civil, only if you're nodding along like a bobblehead. Disagree? Well then, congratulations, you're a national threat. It's like someone mashed up courtroom theatrics with middle school cafeteria drama. But Greg wasn't done. Not even close. He went full investigative mode, pulling receipts like he was doing a public audit of her talking points. 1 minute she's bashing border separations as the end of the world, and then fast forward to when her team does the same thing, only to transform it into merely complex government logistics. Hypocrisy? She wears it like designer fragrance.
I'm gonna milk this till the end of time. You're right, anytime she says something stupid, I'm gonna go, slave owner! Kat, I just watched that. That's the second time I've watched that. She was tipped off beforehand, right? Because they had to tell her before, so she had time to regroup. They wouldn't just surprise. Really? You think? No?
I don't know. I feel like she could have maybe done better. Okay.
Greg did not skim the surface. He actually did an autopsy on her whole outrage routine. According to him, Sunny's moral compass works like a flickering light switch. It only powers up when a conservative coughs. But when a liberal bulldozes the Constitution? Crickets. She's the type of person who calls for an ethics investigation over someone's nasty tweet while standing up for public officials who believe ethics is a type of toothpaste. And the cherry on top? The audience on The View lapped it up like gospel. Gutfeld could have given them a printed-out scrapbook of Sunny's contradictions, signed in her own hand, and they'd still boo him for bullying. So of course, Sunny did what every veteran daytime TV panelist does. She went into the one trick that never fails, victim mode. Before you can say emotional manipulation, she transformed from debater to damsel in distress. Quivering voice? Check. Media-trained tears? Double check. And in a breathtaking about-face, Gutfeld's criticism was somehow spun into an attack on all women, all minorities, and, why not, all infant animals as well. Because if reason isn't getting the job done, just enlarge the battlefield until nobody can remember what the initial argument was about.
I think that women, white women in particular, want to protect this patriarchy here because it's to their benefit. Yeah. They want to make sure that their husbands do well. They want to make sure that their sons do well. They want to make sure that their children do well. And they want to make sure that they do well. Most of the women in some of these studies are married white women, and they do fall in line with what their husbands are doing.
People have to wonder, where does Sunny Hostin get her opinions? Yeah. Like you said, it's obviously from her husband. She has to tell her what to say on The View, because without it, she's got...
Sunny, who spent years throwing verbal grenades at half of America from the safety of her ABC perch, suddenly melted into a puddle because someone had the temerity to link the dots of her public contradictions. It wasn't merely a meltdown, it was an Olympic-level performance of emotional contortion, complete with swooning sighs and trembling lips. If medals were awarded for disregarding irony, she'd be on the podium. And The View? Oh, they mobilized like the Alamo. Only instead of fighting off robbers, they were protecting Sunny from the bruising trauma of public disagreement. Even Whoopi got into it with a pep talk that all came down to, truth is subjective if you feel strongly enough. Producers were frantically running around backstage in the middle of a medical emergency, concerned about Sunny's well-being, as if deflection on live television was something new. One would imagine someone with years working in media would be accustomed to being criticized by now. But somehow, it resonates differently when the receipts are in HD.
Behar gets racism after all. She's been black on Halloween. Yeah. But Joy wasn't there on the show. Apparently Mondays are her days off when she feeds in the pasture. But that is convenient, right? It's like one of my aunts dies every time Brand Kilmeade wants to hang out. Maybe Joy needs a full day to read her hate mail, and that's just from the rest of the cast. So Scott had to deal with Sunny Hostin and her typical self-righteous.
This wasn't merely a clapback, it was Greg Gutfeld pulling back the curtain on a very self-absorbed stage play. As Sunny silently wept over her overpriced coffee, Greg became the man shouting that the parade marshal was naked, and the internet was eating it up. Twitter went wild. One meme slapped Sunny's face under the words, "Loud takes, fragile ego." Another had her mid-meltdown with the caption, "When your truth meets actual facts." Even those who usually avoid political drama took notice. Turns out, when someone preaches about unity while mocking half the audience, people remember. Meanwhile, Gutfeld's bit went viral. His withering skewer hit a chord with audiences tired of being spoon-fed the same old recycled stories presented as new thinking. It was more of a mic drop than a segment. Because The View doesn't operate like a debate, it's more like a pre-scripted improv session in which everyone's already on board with the finale. Fall out of sync, and find yourself cast as the bad guy for disrupting the show.
Like this chick, we didn't think it was the best thing that could have happened to us. Although it did get Joy Behar to wear a mask. It's funny, her being named Joy is like me being named Ugly.
The icing on the cake? Seeing The View jump into spin mode. Suddenly it wasn't Sunny avoiding accountability. No, now it was a movement, a crusade against bullying, a defense of all women. Now, allegedly calling out inconsistency is some kind of hate crime. In real life, The View is not a war room of ideas, it's an echo chamber clubhouse, where dissent is called violence and fact-checking amounts to personal attack. Sunny and the crew don't desire conversation, they desire daily affirmations over music for drama. But the moment someone enters with reason or worse, with sarcasm, the entire mood explodes. Sunny's breakdown wasn't unexpected, it was inevitable. She's been constructing this tenuous persona on a series of contradictions. All Greg Gutfeld had to do was gently push the foundation, and the entire tower came crashing down like it was constructed out of Jenga pieces and hollow hashtags.
Did you watch the whole thing or just the parts that I sent you?
I watched obviously just the parts that you said. Did I watch a whole episode of The View?
No woman can do that unless you're stupid. But
I have a job.
Here's the thing. How can they call themselves progressives when they keep saying that nothing has progressed? Then it's on them.
Right. I just wish I could have, would have watched if I could, would have been Joy Behar watching that.
Yes.
And being like, I totally made the right call. It was not an accident that they had him there on her day off.
Yes.
When she was, presented herself as the, expert on systemic racism.
And of course, no public breakdown in 2025 would be complete without a complete rebrand. Sunny switched to emotional monologue mode, eyes shining, voice shaking, discussing growth and the bravery to be vulnerable. Translation: please act like I just got publicly destroyed on live TV by my own hypocrisies. Seriously, it was sort of amazing. Seeing The View turn a full-fledged hypocrisy expose into a teachable moment on healing felt like something out of a superhero spoof. The defenders of delusion, gathering to preserve face. Greg Gutfeld, meanwhile, didn't even sweat. No screaming, no chest beating, just that characteristic smirk that puts keyboard warriors into tailspin. He knows the routine. The instant you point out hypocrisy, they say you're cruel. Tell the emperor he's naked? Kablamo, you're anti-fashion. And poor Sunny? She's now trapped in a feedback loop. Each time she attempts to reassert her moral high ground, someone drops a gif of her descending into disintegration on air. She's no longer a host, she's now a meme factory.
People have to wonder, where does Sunny Hostin get her opinions?
Yeah.
Like you said, it's obviously from her husband. She has to tell her what to say in The View, because without it, she's got nothing up there. She's not very bright. But the problem with her is that she went full racist. She injected skin color into a fairly generic behavior seen in all spouses, regardless of skin color. People marry, they listen to each other, they have something in common with them, they share their political views. She just didn't want to upset her husband by saying her husband makes her do everything, and then she'd have to accuse him of being a racist. Because if he told her that this is what white women do, then he's a racist.
Sunny's face could be on the Mount Rushmore of performance politics gone under scrutiny at this point. In a more perfect world, The View would take a time out, ponder, and perhaps, just perhaps, bring in some opposing views, open up the floor to real discussion, and never forget that disagreement is not violence. But let's be real, the likelihood of that is roughly as high as Sunny Hostin taking home an award for objective reporting. Rather, strap yourselves in for the remainder of the episodes, emotional support alpacas, guided meditations, and perhaps even a new feature entitled Why Your Truth is More Essential Than the Truth. As for Sunny, she'll keep confusing dramatic ascension with the moral high ground, spouting monologues regarding truth and dodging it like it's a pothole on the highway. And Gutfeld? He'll continue to do what he does best, calmly reminding America that the emperor not only has no clothes, but he's insisting on a fashion award when everyone else politely applauds.
More time to talk.
And I thought Will Smith wouldn't let a black man finish. If her IQ was half as high as her smugness, she'd be Einstein. And later it got weird after Whoopi Goldberg asked a question and Sunny chimed in.
Sunny's face could be on the Mount Rushmore of performance politics gone under scrutiny at this point. In a more perfect world, The View would take a time out, ponder, and perhaps, just perhaps, bring in some opposing views, open up the floor to real discussion, and never forget that disagreement is not violence. But let's be real, the likelihood of that is roughly as high as Sunny Hostin taking home an award for objective reporting. Rather, strap yourselves in for the remainder of the episodes, emotional support alpacas, guided meditations, and perhaps even a new feature entitled Why Your Truth is More Essential Than the Truth. As for Sunny, she'll keep confusing dramatic ascension with the moral high ground, spouting monologues regarding truth and dodging it like it's a pothole on the highway. And Gutfeld? He'll continue to do what he does best, calmly reminding America that the emperor not only has no clothes, but he's insisting on a fashion award when everyone else politely applauds.